Hi everyone, my name's Ethan, and I've been asked by the Living Wish Foundation to put this video together to help you stay safe and organize more efficiently during the bottle drive, try and raise money. So I worked for the beer store for about 5 years when I was in college, so I've got plenty of experience with this. I've seen almost everything there is to see with people returning empties. It gets pretty crazy sometimes. And I'm gonna go over some of the general PPE that you need, COVID regulations to keep in mind, and just general ins and outs of organizing returnables and recyclables to the beer store. First thing, an appropriate mask. Second thing, safety glasses, because sometimes things splash up out of the bottles and you don't want any of that in your eyes. Third thing you're gonna need, gloves to protect your hands. They're important to you, so you want to keep them safe. So some of the things that come back through the beer store, whether it's the bottles, cans, bags of a mix of bottles and cans, sometimes they have sharps in them. Things like hypodermic needles, metal, random objects, sometimes the tin is sliced on a can. You find anything. And also sometimes in those other items is human matter, vomit, feces, animal matter, things like that. So you don't want to mess around. You want to keep yourself safe and you want to keep things as sanitary as possible. So one of the things you can get are the medical examination gloves. With all the COVID guidelines nowadays, most people have these in their house now. But these aren't going to protect you from sharps. So you're going to want something thicker than these. Work gloves work totally fine. But what you got to look out for is that they're still in good condition. Mine have holes in the fingers from my work, so these aren't really going to protect me from something sharp poking straight through and into my thumb. So that's why I would suggest either a combination of the latex medical gloves and thicker work gloves, like these leather ones, or I would suggest getting the rubberized palm gloves. Princess Auto, hardware stores, Canadian Tire, Home Depot, all these places have these typically. They've got a fabric backing, they have a rubberized coating on the palms and fingers, so that way you don't get poked with anything sharp. Fourth thing to keep in mind is social distancing measures. So at any given time during the bottle drive, there should be 2 meters or 6 feet between you and any other person at the drive, whether they're dropping off or working with you. You can tell people to stay within their vehicles during the drive and that you'll unload for them. That's usually the best way to avoid contact. Okay, so to start things off, what are we going to see at the bottle drive? You're going to see anything that was purchased at the beer store, at the LCBO, a licensed liquor retailer, or at a brewery and winery. Beer bottles. They come in many different shapes and sizes. Ones that are embossed, like this one here, Bose, Moosehead, other independent breweries, those should be kept in their own packaging if it's available, or kept in a different area. Otherwise, sort beer bottles by industry standard, which you'll see will have a threading on the top of them. This one doesn't, so this wouldn't be industry standard. Molson Canadian, Labatt Blue, things like that, all have the threading. You'll be able to see it. The rest of them, like this, or Heineken or Stella, the greens and browns, all stay together in their own area. Then you'll also have clear glass ones. I don't have one here on me, but like the Corona bottles, those are separate into their own spot. So that being said here, you're gonna get liquor and wine bottles. They're gonna come in many different shapes and sizes. Anything over 750 milliliters should be separated in its color. So you're going to have a large green, a small green, and then you'll have a large clear and a small clear. So this would be an example of a large green because it's 750. This is an example of a small clear because it is less than 750. So you should only have 4 groups. Then you are going to have, here it is, Tetra Paks. You can tell by the glossy sheen on them and the way they're folded that it's a Tetra. This is obviously almond milk. You will not get a deposit back for it, but it's delicious. But wine typically comes in these containers. There's also wine boxes. So inside the cardboard box for wine boxes is a wine bladder. This is the part that's worth money. If they don't have the box, it doesn't matter as long as we get the bladder, because the box just gets recycled at the beer store anyways, and they just print new ones. So now I'm going to talk to you about how to handle all the materials coming in. So one thing to keep in mind is that some of these beer cases, especially for the beer bottles, have been sitting out in the rain on people's back decks, out in the garage. They might be damp. The cardboard might be starting to fall apart. So whenever you go to lift one, lift the corner and just look underneath if the bottom's still intact. You'll be able to tell right away. If it's all wavy and looks like there's water damage, it's likely going to break on you. In which case, and I would always suggest picking them up this way anyways, pick up the box from underneath. That way, if anything's about to fall out of the bottom, you can brace it with your forearms and your hands. Otherwise, you may have to move the bottles into a separate cardboard flat. I would suggest bringing some banana boxes or something of that sort to the bottle drive with you, just as a backup if you have something around. Cardboard boxes work great as well. Something else to keep in mind is whatever the beer was packaged in and sold in is okay to bring back to the store. So if someone brings back a 4-pack like this Bose Lug Tread, it's just a little cardboard carrier, leave the bottles in this. This makes it easier for them to sort at the store, and it's clear that only 4 are going to be in it because only 4 can fit in it. So whatever it's purchased in, you can leave it in. Also, keep in mind that there's some things that they won't take back at the beer store. For example, it's a health hazard if this entire bottle was to be covered in mold inside and out. If it's filled with water and a few cigarette butts in the bottom, they see that all the time. That's not a big concern. But mold covering everything, which I have seen before, they will turn you away. They will not accept it because it's dangerous to breathe in. So if they handle it at all, they're putting themselves at risk. So they will not accept moldy bottles. They will accept broken bottles, but just make sure that if it's broken inside a case of beer, that they know it's broken in there. So just mark it separately. Whether you leave the top of it open, don't close it, or you actually write on it with a Sharpie, which wouldn't hurt, just that there's broken glass inside. We can still accept that from people donating to the bottle drive, but we have to let everyone at the beer store know. So you're probably wondering about cans. Cans are either going to come back in the flat that people bought them in, or if they bought them individually, a shopping bag, like this. So most people will just tie up the top and they'll know how many are in here. You need to know how many are inside each bag. If it's not written on the outside, ask them and then write it on with a Sharpie. If they don't know, we need to count them, whether at the beer store itself or at the drop-off location if there's time and you feel comfortable looking into the bag. If you're going to count them, have another bag to put them into, and make sure that you can always have a good view of what you're reaching in and grabbing, because you never know what's in these bags. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, then don't. Leave it for the person at the beer store or the beer store staff to count it. That's probably the safest thing to do. But if you do know how many are in there, and you look in the top and you see that it's not full of pop cans or random other junk that, we're not going to get any money back for, just tie it up and send it off to us. If it is full of other things and pop cans and things we aren't going to get the money back for, give it back to the person donating to us and just say that we can't accept it because the beer store won't accept it, and then we're going to be sitting with a bag of cans and general recycling. So that concludes the ins and outs of bottle drives and how to handle all the materials safely. Keep in mind that COVID regulations are still in effect and that you should maintain distance from other people, wear your mask, and any additional PPE that's required. If you have any further questions or if you feel that there's something I didn't answer in this video, please let the organizers know at the Living Wish Foundation and they'll get a hold of me and we'll try and find an answer for you. Thanks for helping out.